Hi there, I'm Erica Diamond. I'd like to say first that I'm a mom, a wife, but in my work world, I help busy men and women prioritize self-care so they can experience, less stress, more calm, greater balance every day. I help companies and conferences with burnout prevention and time management and productivity. And I basically help you go from burnt out to balanced. And I am a podcaster, an author, a life career coach, meditation and yoga teacher, brand owner of Bliss essential oils. So besides teaching self-care, I have a self-care product of high quality essential oils. So basically I eat, sleep, and breathe trying to help people realize that self-care is not this annoying woo-woo word, that it's actually the foundation to us thriving personally and professionally. So when you think of self-care, I hope you'll think of me.
I love it. So since you do the life coaching, right, you meet a lot of people and you speak, you do conferences as well. And so is there a toolkit of like, if I meet somebody with burnout and I have 30 seconds in an interview with them and I can just give them like, do this, are there 3 like quick suggestions that you would give anybody to immediately shift their trajectory from burnout to balance?
Yeah, sure. So first of all, if someone is actual in burnout, they must speak to a doctor. So my whole work is burnout and stress prevention. But if someone has been teetering or they're trying to avoid it, again, 30 seconds would not do the trick. But if I had to give them a few tips that would help their everyday living, number 1 would be breathing. We underestimate the importance, and I see you're breathing, Eric. Good job. Deep diaphragmatic breaths in through the nose, let your belly expand out. So breath work and breathing is the greatest gift you can give yourself. So I would tell you that if you're feeling overwhelmed during your day, if you're not sleeping at night, you can try 2 things. Number 1 is the Dr. Andrew Weil 4-7-8 breath, and that is breathing to the count of 4 in through your nose, holding your breath to the count of 7, and then exhaling through pursed lips to the count of 8. So you can do this about 4 to 6 rounds. And what I have my clients do is actually set an alarm once in the morning around 10:30, once in the afternoon for a breathing break. So you can do the 4-7-8, or you can do a simple box breath. Inhale to 4, hold the breath to 4, exhale through the mouth to 4, hold at the bottom, repeat 4 to 6 rounds. So breathing, really powerful. I would ask you to look at your boundaries, and boundaries, when I say boundaries with other people, with your boss, with your partner, with oh, sorry, I didn't realize it. My phone was ringing. Oh my goodness. So I would ask you to look at boundaries both with others and then boundaries with yourself. How are you? What are you, do you have a hard stop? Are you working past when you promised yourself you would? Are you taking time off? Do you have white space in your calendar? So as far as burnout prevention, boundaries are important because that is how it's this chronic versus acute stress, right? When we are in the chronic stress mode, that is often caused by boundaries. We're not respectful of our boundaries. We go into overtime. We feel our nervous system gets taxed. So poor boundaries, stress and burnout, right? You see where I'm going? So breathing, boundaries, and then I would say, and then the last thing, so much of it is my 5 pillars. We can get into it. But the third I would say would really be to look at one of the pillars where you're struggling the most, which is how you're eating, how you're sleeping, how you're moving your body, how you're managing stress, and how you're connecting socially. So the third, I would say, really, if you are not sleeping at night, you are not feeling well. So what kind of a bedtime routine do you have? What kind of a wind down routine at night? And then, of course, a great morning always starts the night before. So besides having a morning routine of self-care that will help you structure your day and start your day on the right foot, it all starts the night before. So if you're staying up late, you're not eating well, and you're not respecting those boundaries at night, you're going to wake up tired. So I would say, again, breathing, boundaries, and sleep are really important for someone who's feeling stressed, overwhelmed, and close to burnout. Those are 3 things to really examine right now.
So my wife has, I don't know, 1,200 hours into yoga teaching at this point. And
nice.
It's like our core friend group. We were just hanging out with them this weekend doing handstands and acro yoga. And so it's a huge part of my life. And one of the experiences that has been the most significant for me is learning how to do breathing into the energy centers of my body. And so I learned how to do chakra meditation in 2015.
Beautiful.
And
I'm actually trained in chakra meditation, so you can speak to me. I'm speaking your language.
So the thing that got me in there was actually a YouTube video that said how to open your chakras as explained in a kids TV show, and it was Avatar: The Last Airbender, if you're familiar with that cartoon.
Yep.
So it led me down this rabbit hole to start doing working on my root chakra. That was the suggestion. Start at the bottom, move to the top. I had no expectations, and it started off, obviously with like breathing, and then they would have you stand in certain ways, like a horse stance in like kung fu. So they're integrating all these different modalities, and I was perfectly healthy, perfectly sleeping, perfectly active, great social life. It was all kind of coming together, but I just wanted to see what I could come up with. So I got to the point where I could relax my mind into this meditative void, and I could really clear, and it was just absolute emptiness. And then one day I opened my eyes and I was actually in a dark void. It was like, if you've seen Stranger Things, it was just like pure black. And then I reached out and there was this little ethereal flaming light in front of me. And I touched the light and it became a person. And the person was this man who was in a suit, very well dressed. And he just looks at me, he leans in and he says, "You will never be as successful as me."
Wow.
And he just kept repeating it. "You will never be as successful as me." Over the next 6 months, I had 7 other entities join this circle. I could meditate to this void quick. I got to the point where I could enter it within a minute or two, open my eyes, be totally and completely transcendentally disconnected from the real world and like just in this vacuum space in my head. And I had these manifestations of my fears sitting in a circle around me. And some of them were saying phrases over and over. Some of them said nothing. One of them was just a red version of me glaring at myself. And that one took me 3 months to figure out. I didn't know what part of me I was afraid of.
That's probably your shadow side. That's the part that is ugly to you that you don't show to the world, right? That probably nobody knows.
Yeah, it came down to kind of like, it's almost like the sleepy, hungry side of a person, where everybody's so great. But then, if I just deplete you of enough resources and I make you just tired enough, you start to just be kind of hokey. You're just mean, and like you start to default to, maybe you're a person who insults and you put down people when you're not feeling you're at your best. And so anyways, over the course of this 6 months, I went through this process and I was able to resolve each of these fears. And I did this all through breath work.
Mm-hmm.
Right. It was just breathing and meditating. It was amazing. Have you ever had any sorts of transcendental experiences like that in your yoga practice, where you were just totally lost in the flow and you entered a void and were able to either achieve some key insight for your business, or answer a question that you had been desperately trying to find, and it just intuitively came to you and nudged you in the right direction?
It's a great question. And I can't say that anything stands out. I go into that state that you're talking about 365. So every night I feel that floating away from my body. I meditate every morning. I meditate every night. And I'll tell you a funny story. It's not to answer, I don't want to get away from your question. I will answer your question. But very long story short, my mom has a genetic condition and I had to be tested for it. It's a blood clotting disorder. So I had to make sure I had no blood clots. I had to do liver, lung, heart, and brain. So I had to have a brain scan, and I would never have had a brain scan otherwise. And thank goodness I don't have that blood clotting disorder. But I did ask them, I'm like, I'm never going to get a brain scan. I don't get these right. So can I ask you a question? I'm a heavy meditator, and they said that they've studied meditating brains. Can you tell me if you see something? And they said, it's funny you say that. Brains usually have like cracks and lines, and they said your brain has practically, I don't know if they said not practically none, either few or less. They said we actually can see that you have a meditating brain. And so to answer your question, this is not like a one-off for me. It's, this is part of this is who I am. And so if I had epiphanies while floating off, drifting off into my meditative state at night or in the morning, maybe nothing has come to me right then and there when I came back to myself in the morning, because at night I'll drift off to sleep, but nothing happened whereby I was like, yes, that is the right sign. But I do, so I wish I had a better answer for you. I don't. Things come to me. I'll tell you that things usually come to me when I stop, when I'm on vacation and when I rest, and when I give myself permission to disconnect. That is where, when I'm just kind of hanging around, just trying to say, Erica, this is your time to regroup, get away from your computer. And I'm just sitting and I'm thinking. That's when everything comes to me. So it's not in any kind of meditative state. It's when I stop. And that makes sense, because I really believe that's when I'm most creative. For me, that's when I'm most creative, when I take breaks and when I stop.
So I think one of my most toxic traits is I'll plan a vacation and it takes me a little while to enter vacation.
To get in there. That usually 5 to 7 days for a lot of people. For me, it takes me quite a few days too.
So if I plan a 6-day vacation, then I'm doomed of my own volition. So, I mean, is there any way that we can accelerate that timeline to get to the deepened vacation state faster?
Well, I would say it's a mindset shift. You got to talk to yourself to say, listen, I'm here for 6 days. If I'm going to keep my computer open for the first 5 days, I'm going to have 1 day to get better. So the key is mindset, and the key is prepping in advance, knowing that you are someone. It's all about self-awareness, right? So it's great that you know that. So if you know you're going on a 6-day holiday and you know that it takes you 6 days to get there, well, what are you going to do before? You're going to prep your emails. You're going to have someone, an assistant, someone at home, line stuff up. You're going to be proactive with your time, with your productivity beforehand, to leave yourself like this blank shell for 6 days, right? So the first thing is to make sure that nothing's going to come in and disrupt your peace. Of course, making room if things do come up, but it's to plan in advance, to make sure to literally get in your calendar, make sure you have no tasks for those 6 days. So prepping in advance, and then it's mindset. You have to, and that goes back to boundaries. You have to remind yourself that you're worthy of this peaceful time. And what I would do is, knowing yourself, I would give yourself permission to check in. If the buck stops with you, if you're running your business, if you really cannot be, because we got to deal in facts. If you can't disappear off the face of the earth for 6 days, and not everyone can, then you need to give yourself check-ins, and then you need to stick to them. Boundaries. Can you check in on day 4? Is day 2 and day 4? Give yourself 45 minutes second day in the morning, and then 45 minutes day 4 in the afternoon, and leave yourself flag emails, whatever, leave everything for those times, so that when you're in a non-check-in time, you're either, I don't know, playing pickleball, reading, doing all of the fun things, sleeping, resting, exercising, breathing, communicating, being with people, doing all the things that take you away from maybe what stress you out.
That's a great answer. So, and it selfishly applies to me. This is the most recent. We went and we were vacationing in Utah, where my wife is from.
Yeah.
We were there for 2 weeks, and I planned it for 2 weeks because I knew that it was going to take me a ramp up period to get there. And I think one thing that has shifted significantly for me, and I'm sure you play in this world, so I'm curious to get your thoughts, is so because of this trait that I inadvertently built a culture that almost like, so to give you an example of, maybe it's easier that way. So I got on a call during the time that I was supposed to be on vacation. I entered one of the team meetings, and everybody was like, and I'm the owner, right? Everybody was like, boo, get out of here. Like, you're supposed to be on vacation. And just like the culture of boundaries was present in my business, so much so that they were like shooing me away. They're like, we got it. It's okay. We don't need you here. And I was like, oh, there's just one thing. And
how great is that? How cool is that? That's really cool. Good on you, Eric.
I'm curious, you consult with companies on like how to build an anti-burnout culture, and like where can business owners start to build the infrastructure that supports that type of culture?
So I have my roadmap, my roadmap. It's my self-care burnout prevention roadmap, and it's called Mindset, Body, Time Transformation. So that is the 4th step from taking a busy, stressed out employee, someone in a corporation or an entrepreneur, all the way to feeling in flow and in balance. So first is mindset. We can't begin to change our life if we are in a scarcity mindset. And my first step is to take people from a scarcity or fixed mindset to a growth or abundance mindset. So we look at things like our limiting beliefs, and I take people through all different mindset exercises, all on, again, limiting beliefs and why do we default to certain beliefs about ourselves, and they keep us in this loop of negativity. So we can't begin to change our life if our mind is not open and ready to do the work. Next step is body. First the mind, then the body. And that is my pillars of well-being. That is how you're sleeping, how you're moving your body, how you're managing stress, any breath work, how you're connecting socially, and how you eat, how you sleep, how you move, how you manage stress, and how you connect socially. That is understanding what acute and chronic stress are. And that is, so understanding what stress does to the body and having this toolbox, these pillars, how to improve the physical shell, the body. So first the mind, the brain, then the body, then the time. So the third step is why do we procrastinate? What is I always say like the 411, what is the psychology 101 of procrastination? Why do we procrastinate? We're not always, shame ourselves into saying that we're lazy, but sometimes it's very trauma-based. Perfectionism keeps us stuck. Why are we stuck? Why do we not get our things done on time? So that's all about time strategies, hacks, how to reclaim our days, how to trim the fat, how to fix our days up so that we're working in optimal productivity. So mindset, body, then our time, and then transformation. So once we have the habits, how do we keep them on autopilot? So learning things that takes about 21 days to form a new habit, 66 days up to 6 months for things to start to become automatic, understanding why we default back to the way we are, and also giving ourselves grace and compassion when we don't show up as we had planned, and knowing that a bad day is not a bad week or a bad month or a bad year. And so allowing yourself, okay, I effed up. I checked in every single day on holiday. I told myself I would once, or I stayed up working late on that presentation where I told myself I was going to go on a date night with my partner, and I'm just constantly working. I'm not sleeping. I open up my phone, I'm not honoring my hard boundaries. So, giving ourselves, and that is one of, to me, soft is strong. And I don't think that's known, that's not preached enough in a corporate high hustle team no sleep world. Is soft is strong. When we're soft with ourselves, magic happens. And so we have to learn to soften into ourselves and give ourselves permission to forgive ourselves when we are not doing as well as we had hoped or we had set out to. So those are the steps. That is how, over a period of time, we begin to transform from this taxed, busy, burnt out person. First, we understand the way our mind works. Then we move our body. Then once we're feeling better, we can start owning our days again. And then we make the transformation last. Those are the 4 steps.
I'm going to let the show end on that note. Beautiful, perfect summary. And I hope it builds your business to our audience. So where can everyone find you? So I always say ericadiamond.com is like my website. It's where you can book me to speak at your next event or conference or company. It's where you can purchase Busy to Bliss, which is, no offense, Eric, of course, but it's just a transformational online course for women. It's a mindset and body transformation course for women. So there you can find links to my podcast. There's free resources. You can hire me right there as your life and career coach. So all my one-on-one stuff is there. My course is there. My speaking is there. The podcast is there. But if you want to talk to me in person, I love Instagram. So I hang out the most. I'm at Erica Diamond on Instagram, and of course, X and Twitter and Facebook. I'm facebook.com/Erica Diamond official, but website's Erica Diamond, and just come say hi. I answer all of my DMs and I'm super active there, and you get a real person. So you get, like I said, I show up there in my authentic truth. So it's not always clean. Sometimes it's messy, it's honest, and it's real, but we have fun. That's what we need. Thank you so much for coming on the show. This has been the Pulse Ox podcast. Please, if you found this episode valuable, give us a like on Spotify and share it with a friend.